and hopefully welcome back. I decided to do this video because my last video about Japan in November was quite popular, which I'm really happy about, and I could talk about Japan non-stop. In fact, we are already planning our next trip to Japan, so this is how my Japan map is looking right now. So I have plenty of things to say. This is everything we did in our first trip to Japan, which in part was the Golden Route, but we also did a few other things outside of that, which I have to say was one of the highlights of our trip, like Gifu. We went to Takayama and that was amazing. So of course, planning our next trip to Japan, we want to do something a bit different, and I think it's most likely going to be a bit outside the Golden Route. The Golden Route, I think it depends on who you ask, but the main things people visit the first time they go to Japan are Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka, maybe Hiroshima if you have time. So this time we're probably going to do something a bit different. So I've been doing a lot of research, which is what I love to do. I've been checking out all possible areas, and then once the time comes to fully plan our trip, we're gonna go through that and figure out which areas are the most interesting to us and plan accordingly, because of course you cannot do everything. So even though my map right now is completely chaotic and all over the place, I've decided to narrow it down to an area which has a lot of things that I'm interested in, and we're gonna be talking about the Nagano Prefecture. I'm probably going to be talking a lot in this video, so I would suggest you grab a coffee or a drink and let's get started. Trying to keep my energy up. Let's go. Bear in mind that this area is big and I'm going to talk about places all over. Some of them might be quite far from each other, but I'll try to make sure to put pins and a map over everything I'm saying so you know at all points where we are. Let's talk about the first thing on my list. Since I saw this was a thing, I could not stop thinking about it, and it is the Nakasendo Trail, which it is quite popular now, but it's something that I didn't know when we went the first time, and it's something I would definitely like to do this time around. The Nakasendo Trail is a route that used to connect Tokyo to Kyoto in the Edo period. It was around 540 kilometers long. Of course, most of it doesn't exist anymore, but there are some areas that are still preserved and you can do a few different hikes around the main route. And the most popular area is around Kiso Valley. There's a few post towns that are really well preserved that looked amazingly beautiful. There are a few routes that are popular. The most iconic one is from Magome-juku to Tsumago-juku, and that's what most people do, and it's around 7-8 kilometers. And then there's also a smaller bit from Tsumago-juku. I might have been saying this wrong, it's Tsumago-juku. But anyway, there's a smaller bit that's about 3 kilometers long from Tsumago-juku to Nagiso, and another popular one that's also around 7-8 kilometers that's from Narai-juku to Yabuhara. Okay, I'm gonna read this one because of course I don't have all the information either. So, the Tori Pass is a mountain pass that hikers cross when crossing the Nakasendo route. It has a high elevation, it's 1,197 meters, and it used to be a very critical point back in the day because of the elevation of it. But from the information I have right now, I think I would love to do from Magome-juku to Tsumago-juku to Nagiso, because I think that's doable. It's about 10 kilometers in total, and even though it might take me a bit longer because I'm not very fit, I think I would still enjoy creating content and like walking around the forest. I don't know, it sounds really amazing, it looks beautiful, the towns look stunning, so I think I would love to do the route and also spend the night in one of the valleys. And even though what I'm thinking now it's the basic, like the most common part of the route, which has also a lot of things to see on the way, I also have on my list Narai-juku, and I think that even though you don't do the Nakasendo Trail on that part, I think it's a town that's probably worth visiting, and it's really easy to access because the JR line crosses all Kiso Valley. So maybe you can walk a bit and then take the train and visit one of these towns as well. And Narai-juku is definitely on my list. I lost all the sun. But even though these towns might all look quite similar, here's the list of all the ones I have on my wish list. This map is from 1964. Morten's dad brought it from Japan on his first trip there, and we need to find a frame for it, but it's beautiful. Before we move on to the next place, I want to have a special mention to some festivals. If you watch my previous videos, I talked about researching and checking for festival, cultural events and stuff like that around the area you're gonna visit, because you never know, there might be something going on and you're just gonna miss out. So I did a quick search on festivals around the Kiso Valley. And here's what I found. Tsumago has a fire festival held the 4th Saturday in August, so late August. There's a festival called Hanauma Festival in Tadachi area, celebrated the first Sunday of October for all of you traveling in fall, which is what I love. Narai also has a few festivals. There's the Kiso Lacquerware Festival celebrated in early June. Narai also holds a festival called Narai Shizume Shrine Grand Festival held mid-August, where there is portable shrines, lion dances and Shinto rituals throughout town. Tsumago. It also has the Kisoji Ice and Snow Light Festival in February. Yogawa also has an autumn moon viewing party, which actually sounds really nice. The 3rd Sunday of October, Yogawa also holds a shrine, Hakusan Shrine Festival. It's an autumn version of a summer. And then late November, there's also a Bunka Bunsei Customs Parade in Tsumago. So again, check your festivals because you might be missing on a golden opportunity. And now we're ready to move on to the next place. Okay, let's move on to the next stop of this virtual trip. This one is for all of you who like anime and all of you who have watched Kimi No Nawa or Your Name. We're big fans of the movie in this house. Our next stop is Lake Suwa, which is supposed to be the one that inspired the movie. It looks beautiful, it looks pretty much like the movie, which is really cool. So if you happen to be around the area, I think it should be a must stop. In my case, I know I would love to see it, and it is recommended to maybe rent bikes and bike around the lake, but for me, I would just love to see the views from up high and get a shot as close to the movie as possible, because I think it would feel super magical. Suwa is an onsen city, so I think that if you want to look into a public bath, this might be a good place to do so. It's a city surrounded by mountains, one of them being Yatsugatake, which is a volcanic mountain, and it's at the border within Nagano and Yamanashi Prefecture. But going back to it being magical, it holds a big firework festival every year over the lake, which looks incredible. The festival is held every 15th of August and it's one of the biggest ones. It has over 40,000 fireworks and it seems like it's quite popular, so a lot of people gather there to watch it, which who wouldn't? So I guess that's worth checking out as well. But I'm assuming that 40,000 fireworks can be seen from all over the sides of the lake. But aside from the big festival 15th of August, it seems like the weeks before leading to the festival, there's also fireworks shows every night. It's a smaller show with maybe 500 fireworks, but they light them every night over the lake. And it also seems like if you're going around autumn, which is what I did last time and what I prefer to do, there is also a festival. Well, it's more of a competition that happens in September. This year it's gonna be on 20th September 2025, and it's a competition where a lot of people can participate and they prepare specific shows, like fireworks shows, and then they decide which ones win and will be displayed on the big festival the year after. I hope that makes sense. So I think that seeing the lake, if you like the movie, is amazing, but seeing it with fireworks, amazing. Oh, and also, when referencing to the movie, is that it's very famous for its sake. So if you're around, you should check some sake distilleries, which I'm taking note of myself. Also, as a small side note, there's also this festival in Suwa called Onbashira, which is this log festival that you might have seen some photos or videos around, which, as far as I could find, it happens every 6 years and the next one will be held in 2028. But I think that's probably a very interesting one to witness live. And aside from that, there's also a lot of things to visit around the area, like the 4 Suwa shrines that are scattered around the areas around the lake. And linking this one to our next spot, this lake and Suwa, the city, and probably other cities around, are 20 minutes away from Matsumoto. I don't have much to say about this, but it's also on my list. It's a bigger city and it's famous for having one of the most beautiful Japan's original castles. And before we move a bit more north, I still have one small spot saved west of Matsumoto, which is actually really close to Takayama and also the area in the mountains we visited last time we were in Japan that was called Okuhida. We stayed at a ryokan there and it was one of the highlights of our trip. We loved it up in the mountains, like beautiful and peaceful views, hot bath, mountain views. And this place is close to that area, so I guess that even though where we were was in Gifu and not in Nagano, we're kind of at the border here. And this place is indeed in Nagano, but really close to Okuhida, and it's called Kamikochi. It has some beautiful mountain scenery and it's only opened from April till November and they close it over the winter. Kamikochi is a 15-kilometer long plateau along the Obuse River, about 1500 meters above sea level. It's surrounded by tall mountains including Nishihotakadake, almost 3000 meters tall, and the volcanically active Yakadake. Crazy. Kamikochi is part of the Chubu Sangaku National Park. So if you want to hike and you like nature, I think this might be a spot for you. On the other hand, we also have on the east side, I have a spot saved called Karuizawa, which is a popular summer vacation town for Japanese people. I'm not sure how much that is to see. It's probably more relaxing and a bit more difficult to access with public transport, as it's something that people usually drive to. But it looks very cute, so I have it here even though it's not on my top priority of things to visit. If we move a bit more north, I also have another stop on the way that I think is probably better accessed by car, but I have it here in case we decide to potentially rent a car, because you never know, and it's the Obasute rice terraces. There are other terraces you can visit, but this one is between Matsumoto and Nagano, and even though it looks stunning on photos, it's one of these things that I'm sitting there thinking like, will it actually look like this in real life? Because like, of course it looks stunning with like beautiful morning or sunset light with water, etc. But like on the day-to-day, how do they actually look? But still on my list, as it can be a potential stop. And then another place I found on the way there, it's a little town that it's about half an hour away from Ueda, and it's called Bessho Onsen, which as the name says, it's known for its onsens, and it's one of the oldest onsen towns in Nagano. It looks very small but super cute, super cozy, very calm and with this all traditional look. And to be honest, I couldn't find a lot of information, but just like browsing a bit throughout the map, checking the restaurants and cafes, they all look so cute and I can definitely see myself wandering around the streets. Like, look at these restaurants, they just feel so authentic with so much character. And even though there might not be a lot more to do than just relax, that's exactly what I would be looking for in a place like this. But there is a main street with some stores and also like some temples around the area. I'm gonna skip Nagano because it's the big main city and I want to focus on the small things that I've been researching. I don't have a lot on Nagano itself, so I want to talk instead about Obuse, which is a town that I have high up on my list and that I'm really interested in. Obuse is a small town really close to Nagano and it has a very pretty old town center, which is something I love. And it's very famous because Hokusai, which is a renowned wood block painter famous for the Great Wave of Kanagawa, spent some of his last years there, and there's a museum dedicated to him, and I think that there's a few things around the town that revolve around him and his life. But it seems like the main attractions are the old town of the city and the museum, and those for me already feel worth taking the trip. And I believe this is the last one I have on my list, which is Yamanouchi, which is famous for the monkey park. I'm pretty sure that if you are on the algorithm on social media, you have seen these monkeys in the snow sunbathing in onsens, and this is in Yamanouchi. It's called Jigokudani Monkey Park. which of course is famous for the natural hot springs, but there's also a couple of towns around that it's also onsen towns that are very famous, called Kiso Onsen and Nagano Onsen. It's also a big ski resort, so if you're into skiing, this might be a place for you if you go obviously in the skiing season. I think that's all for this video. I hope it was somewhat helpful or inspiring. Of course, I'd recommend you check things for yourself. This is just inspiration of what I've been researching, what I like. I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos and informing myself over the years, so my map has been of course growing a lot and I have a lot of ideas of what I would like to see. So I hope this was helpful and I'll see you in the next one. Morten! I'm in the perfect spot, but my notes are there. I'm framed perfectly. And this little boy is chestnut. Will this be our lucky day? I tasted the cheese, the potato, the sauce.
I get the hippogriff in the background.
We are in Naro.
Kyoto, tourist hotspot #1. Is it the best takoyaki you've had in all of Japan?
We're going for dinner.